Hi, it's Ann from the Lowdown on Cancer. And today I think I have a really, really special interview. And I think it's so important because I believe that as we see more and more young women being diagnosed at a younger age, I think this is an incredibly important conversation. And as much as I love interviewing people, it breaks my heart that I'm actually doing this interview because this is somebody I've known for quite a few years and that I love dearly. But I am so grateful that she has agreed to do this interview with us. So if you don't mind, Delia, would you introduce yourself, give a little bit of your background, and kind of tell just something about you?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm 28 years young. I am a college graduate. I studied design, fashion, which I love and has always been passionate about my entire life. And graduated from Arizona State University with a degree in design. And I currently do interior design with my husband. We work together doing home build and interior design. Love doing that. And just recently got diagnosed with this cancer. So this is my new journey and this is where I'm at right now.
You know, when did you first notice that something was wrong?
So early December 2020, I was doing like a weekly exam before I got in the shower, just of my body, checking things out, and realized that there was a strange feeling in my left breast that kind of caught my attention, and immediately scheduled an appointment for, exam to kind of get some more information there. So about, I would say 6 months ago is when I noticed.
And what specifically was it that you noticed?
I felt like there were a few lumps. It almost felt like a string of pearls is the best way I can explain that to you. Starting at the top of my chest wall area. And it just kind of felt it. The doctor described it as a finger. So it kind of felt like that, just a strand of like lumps.
What was the process from you first noticing that you had an issue until you actually got a confirmed diagnosis?
So I felt the lumps. I scheduled an appointment with my OBGYN. She did a breast exam. She referred me to get an ultrasound done, which I did. They referred me to get an MRI. From that point, I got a biopsy, which confirmed my positive results of the cancer.
How were you told that you had cancer?
So I actually got a phone call from the pathologist who did my biopsy, and she just said, we're really sorry to inform you. We have a positive result both for your breast tumor, lump, and your lymph node.
I remember receiving that call as I was driving down the road with my father-in-law. And for me, it was a very out of body experience. What was that like to hear you have cancer at 28 years old?
Well, immediately after receiving the phone call, during the phone call when she called me, it almost felt surreal. Like it took me a moment to process it. I remember just kind of silence for about 15 seconds before my brain could actually come up with words to respond. And, that whole day and the week following, I was pretty just numb to my core. I think just processing the information and, of course, thinking of every single outcome and every single thing now that all the 5 million questions that I had. So yeah, it was pretty surreal and just overwhelming, to be honest.
And what was your actual diagnosis?
So I was diagnosed with stage 3 invasive ductal carcinoma.
And in both sides or just one side?
So it was just in the left side. It was the left breast and the left lymph node.
Who was the first person you told that you had cancer, and how did that go?
So I was actually visiting my mom. I live in Utah and I was in Arizona visiting my mom for the holidays. And I happened to just be in the other room when the doctor called or the pathologist called. And as soon as the phone call ended, I walked into the living room and my mom was on the phone and she could see that the distress, and immediately ended her phone call. And I had just collapsed and I fell to the floor and I started crying, and she sat there and held me and cried with me for a good couple hours. And then we started kicking things in action and we called local hospitals to set an appointment.
Well, I don't think that that's really an unusual response. It was like that for me to get the diagnosis to begin with, but I can't even imagine what it must be like to be 28 years old and hear those words that you have cancer. Did you do any genetic testing for the BRCA genes or any of the other genes that, they're beginning to attribute to breast cancer?
I did. I actually had two different panels done. The first was BRCA 1 and 2, and then I had a bunch of other genes tested as well. I think it was a total of like 30 that they tested overall. And luckily everything came out to be negative. So I am so grateful for that. But, just sometimes we have those anomalies, and it happened to be me, I guess.
This is not the first cancer diagnosis in your little household, is it?
So in my immediate family, we don't have any cancer, but my mother's sister had breast cancer as well. And she was also diagnosed at a young age. I believe she was 32, and she had a diagnosis of stage 4 inflammatory breast cancer. So hers was very aggressive, and yeah, she was also really young.
This isn't the first cancer diagnosis between you and your husband, is it?
No, it's not. My husband was diagnosed with testicular cancer back in 2016. And luckily for him, it had not spread anywhere besides just the one testicle. And he was able to have that removed. And he is healthy and thriving today, and just did his 5-year scan and everything looks good. So that was a major miracle.